Hello and welcome back to Alpha Tauri, or Visa Cash App Red Bull. Don't think there's a racing attached to that. VCARB, basically. That's what we're going to go with. VCARB, or RB as it is just initialized for some reason. But VCARB, as we prepare to go into the 2026 season on here, F1 Manager. Don't know why I phrased it like that. Just administration to deal with first and foremost. We will be seeing this series through to its completion. I do not like leaving things unfinished if I can help it, and I can certainly help it. The only reason why we dropped this is because my interest level in this dropped beneath my frustration level, because it kind of got a bit samey. A little bit predictable, a little bit samey. I may well have paused this at the point in which things change dramatically, because of course the 2026 regulations might drastically change the order of things in terms of finishing position. Last 3 years have basically just gone Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin, Alpine, and then we've just moved up that list. We were 4th last year in 2025. The rest of the order has just been same as every single year, and the drivers have just been Noah's Arked 2 by 2, except for people who have been dramatically unlucky over the course of the season. That's been the only anomaly. So hopefully 2026 at least shakes up the constructor order. I'm not anticipating the driver thing to change at any point in time. The overpowered car versus driver thing, I'm not expecting that to change. Frontier haven't fixed it. Frontier haven't patched it since December. Ironically, Frontier have actually done what people mocked them for doing last year, which they didn't do, because last year they popped out a patch saying basically December will be the last big patch, and everyone took that as they're not doing anything with this anymore after December, when they actually continued to patch it through to March. This year they appear to have actually genuinely stopped in December, because there has been literally no news since then. So I'm going to be critical of them this one. There's still work to be done in this game. Now, they may have dropped it. Obviously, there's been layoffs and things like that, and I feel for the people who've lost their jobs, particularly the community manager, because we've heard literally nothing from the new one since then. But the EA Codemasters F1 game is coming out at the end of March. A good solid, I think, about a month earlier than usual. So maybe F1 Manager 24, which is happening, might be coming out a month earlier as well. Maybe their window of release has moved up similarly. So to give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe they've stopped developing F1 Manager 23 in order to release that earlier. Obviously, there's been no announcements of that. If the Codemasters one's a month earlier, maybe the Frontier one's a month earlier as well. We don't know. We live in hope. Obviously, I'm trying to silver lining this. The one thing the December thing did do is they did fix the avoid curbs thing, which might be problematic going forward. What you're all here for, we ended things at the very end of the 25 season with, and I might as well show you this page now. Obviously, I've got in the suits and liveries for the VCARB car now, as it will be, because I'm going to assume that might last a few years now. So in 2026, it may still be VCARB. Obviously, we had Alexander Albon and Yuki Tsunoda driving with us in 2025. Alexander Albon was going to be replaced by a reserve driver, Zane Maloney, and we're going to have a new reserve driver in Enzo Fittipaldi. Let's see who joins the other teams. As you can see also on the left-hand side here, we have been renamed to RB slightly prematurely, but I guess we will be that in 2025 anyway. Also, the only way I could get the RB rename was to change the Alfa Romeo name from Sauber to Kick Sauber. I have put the Audi livery on it. So just going to flick through all the end of season stuff here. Nice prize money for a DHL fastest pit stop. Pop these back on now as well. Huge team rating boost going into 2026. And a reminder of the regulation changes for next year. Huge, obviously dramatic drops across the board, which may change the overall order massively. And the season price share money-wise does get a little bit better for the teams in the back and a little bit worse for the teams in the front, except for 10th, which for some reason stays the same. New season target, Drivers' Championship 8th. I don't remember that actually being an actual target for the specifically drivers, but Constructors 4th they want. We had 4th last year, of course. Long-term objective, we got 3 podiums last year, so I think they want 6 podiums this year. Now, the best way to see the new drivers is to click on Switch Team rather than accept New Target, and then commit to the same team. So we can see who's driving for Red Bull Racing this year. Charles Leclerc remains. Of course, I'm going to be marginally surprised by these because I genuinely cannot remember who was driving for whom before now. So it stays Max and Charles. I'm pretty certain that stays the same. Ferrari remain with George Russell, and I think Checo was the other one originally. I can't imagine them changing either. Carlos Sainz remains at Mercedes. I want to believe the other one was Ocon. I think Sainz and Norris being reunited is a change in the order. I think Norris was still at McLaren. Obviously, our drivers this year is the faceless Zane Maloney and Yuki Tsunoda. Zhou Guanyu remains at McLaren, and that's just a straight swap with Ocon. Okay, so based on that, I'm not imagining huge changes. Although Pierre Gasly added the new Aston Martin alongside Kevin Magnussen is a change. Lance Stroll has been ejected. This actually was the end of Lance Stroll's contract, if I'm not mistaken. So could he have been removed from the sport altogether? Piastri's still at Alpine, which is weird, but no, they just straight swapped him at Alpine with Pierre Gasly. Williams is Nick de Vries and someone new altogether. Oh, it's Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi was already there. I don't know if Nick de Vries was already there. I can't remember. Audi logo remains, even though it does say Kick Sauber. And I believe that's unchanged. I was on the wrong page there, but Bottas and Ricciardo were already there. And Haas, I think, had Hadjar and someone else who doesn't have a face. Yes, Iwasa and Hadjar, that's unchanged. So we stick with, obviously, the season objectives with Alpha Tauri / VCarb, as it is now, of course. The background logos haven't changed. And we will reduce this to the barest minimum driver weekend appearances, because that literally does not change anything. Total income will be 100 million if he did 13. If he does the barest minimum, 99 million. Yeah, I'd rather keep his control up, thank you very much. Particularly as he's the newbie. The one to do is actually merchandising, because that does give you more over the course of the season. It just gives you less up front. Starting price 2026 will be 20 million. I think that already factors in you doing an engine, but I'm not certain. Either way, it's enough. So we'll set it up at that level. I won't go to the full max just because I'm solely concerned by this money. So we did the minorest of updates there. So this is about, because I'm assuming this balance is assuming that we stick with Red Bull, which obviously we will do, being a Red Bull family car. People have done research apparently. Apparently the Renault engine, just on like for like, is actually technically the fastest engine for the majority of the race just because of its fuel efficiency. Because its inherent fuel efficiency means it is the lightest car at the start of the race. So it actually remains technically the fastest engine for 60% of the race, and at the end of the race the Red Bull one is. But it's the reason why the Renaults are obscenely fast at the beginning of a race. Now I will rearrange the calendar so that the first race of the season will be Australia. Again, admin intercept here. We're going to do the first race of the season just so there's a race in this video. From here on in, we will be doing the race before the summer break, which is round 13, and then the final race of the season. Because I can alter the calendar, unlike last year, I don't have to bring you in at random intervals. This year, I can stick at the same point of the year, but just change the race that it is. So I will see you for that. So the VCarb's first flying laps. I obviously sandbagged in practice to maintain engine parts, although I did do a soft run at the end. That kind of gave me a little bit of confidence that we're roughly in the right point. I tried to not to abuse the 2026 regulation over researching that you can do last year. If I remember rightly, I tried to make sure we were in a good spot so we didn't kind of abuse that too hard and make it unrealistic in terms of the jump that we make forward this year. I think we're at the right kind of point now with the development that we've done on the car parts that we've already made this year. Now, it's been that long, I genuinely cannot remember what the optimal way to do qualifying is, so I think it's a dual run to start off with and then obviously a single flying run at the end. But this is your first look obviously at the VCarb car in game. Lovely work obviously from the modding scene. At the very least, it's better than the original AlphaTauri from 2023. If it was the 2022 AlphaTauri, then obviously that's better than both. But the addition of the all-in-red to the 2022 car to make the 2023 car just ruined it, frankly, in my opinion. So if you're going to lean into the red, white, and blue, at least put them all in, you know, like this. Bright blue, bright red, white, perfect. In a weirdly patriotic display if you're American, British, or French. Or indeed Dutch, I think. Many flags with those three colours. But you let them just get on with it in these first two. And that's Yuki Tsunoda across the line with a 118.9. I have no idea how that stacks up, of course. And Zane behind, only marginally worse. Yuki does have a chassis on that Maloney doesn't have because we didn't build them in time. So actually Yuki's top speed is marginally lower, but his overall car package is better because that's the sacrifice you have to make with the chassis in order to optimize the part. But Yuki immediately improving in Sector 1 by doing purple, and then Zane actually improving on his previous lap as well for good measure. Might be traffic. Zane actually going worse in Sector 2. I might just pick up a slight toe as he crosses the line here. That is Yuki across the line with 118.5 now. And Zane actually going worse second time round, but ahead of the Alpines is a good point to be. Also, while we're here, I do believe we have got an Audi on track. So there's the Audi in all its glory. If it ever gives us a camera angle that actually shows the car, that'd be great. There we are. Sticking with the Golf livery for the Williams here in 2026, just to keep a bit of variety. For the most part, they're the 2024 liveries, but a few of them have got kind of the more special ones on, like the Williams and the Audi, of course. And the Haas in this world is still rocking the Alfa Romeo joinage that we had on previously. We've also got the Aston Martin Honda, which they will be in 2026, on track with a suitable livery to complement that. Again, great work from the modding scene. I forget the exact modder involved in these ones because it's a bit of a variety, but shout out to all of them. Still waiting for the big boys to do a lap here in Q1. Although the Ferraris have gone behind Yuki. I'd have argued a compromised lap for Sights. Although he has now gone second, so it was compromised. So maybe Norris was compromised as well. That was my conditioning. It was like, Sainz was down in 19th, and I thought he was compromised. And then Norris put in 50th, and I thought maybe that was actually the Mercedes pace. But no, Sainz now has gone second. I'd argue Yuki's probably fine, but it is the first qualifying session of the year, so we won't risk it. Zane obviously has to go again. I think we've done this in just the right amount of time. There's a chance we'll catch the Ferrari, but should just have enough time to cross the line here. That's Yuki across the line. Momentarily, just improved slightly, takes 4th. Zane remains 14th. He didn't improve, but thankfully that's enough for now. Norris in the bottom 5. De Vries in the bottom 5 despite a promising practice, actually. Giovinazzi up in 7th. But both Audis, Norris, De Vries and Gasly out Q1. Feeling a little bit more borderline in Q2, bearing in mind, of course, that we did use used tyres on the initial runs here. But we'll go on board with Zane because I'm less confident he'll make Q3. Both have a nice bit of clear air to drive into as well. I started pushing their tyres on their outlap a little later than I did in Q1. Zane's still not improving. Hang on. Zane, you were on like 80% used tyres. Or 20% used, you know what I mean. How on earth have you gone slower in Q1? But of course, it is the rookie's first ever qualifying session. Improving in Q2 isn't an overall improvement. Yuki better in both first and second sectors, crossing the line momentarily. We'll just switch over to see him achieve that. And there's the line. Yuki only up to 10. That's not as impressive as I hoped. Sainz obviously doing a much better job in Q2 as well for Mercedes. Zane doesn't improve at all overall, despite being on fresh tyres. I'm starting to remember where the frustrations lied in F1 Manager. Thankfully, nobody in the bottom 5 improves, and that is Yuki safe and through in 10th. Alpines look strong though. Yuki bizarrely faring much better in Q3, up in 5th on the initial run. But here's the fresh tyres, which obviously won't go faster necessarily. But ahead of Sainz, ahead of Perez, ahead of Piastri, who was obviously very strong in Q2 there. The Red Bulls remain the cars to beat, which is obviously nice narratively because that's the whole point of this. This, of course, does mean that you can have no fresh, soft tyres for the race. Zane will have one set. If I remember rightly, tyre wear is relatively high here anyway, so... and incidents are likely. Yuki's definitely ahead of one person because Piastri's taken the checkered flag already in 7th, Magnussen in 9th, so minimum 8th. We follow Ferrari across the line, not quite close enough to get a toe off them, but Russell improves to 3rd. Yuki, worse first sector, better second sector, doesn't improve overall, stays 5th. Fresh tyres. Perez across the line, it takes 5th. There's Leclerc next. Stays 2nd. Max, does he improve on his pole that he already has at this point in time? He does not. Is Ocon on a flying lap? No, he is not. That just leaves Sights. Doesn't sound like he's pushing. I think we start the race in 6th with Yuki Tsunoda. We do. And 13th with Zane Maloney. I haven't really explained the calendar for 2026. I've just put Australia first, returning it to its rightful place, arguably. Because, as I say, we'll always bring you the race before the summer break and we'll bring you the final race of the season, which will remain Abu Dhabi for this season, but we'll change it up with probably the other Middle East tracks for the time being, keep clumping them at the end of the year. And then the summer break will typically always be a European track, which does mean you probably won't see things like Singapore, Japan, or what have you, and certainly not Monaco. A one-stop viable and apparently faster. Obviously less helpful for Yuki, who doesn't have a fresh set of softs to begin with, although that could just mean less pushing. Do I not have 2 mediums? Yeah, sorry, 2-stop. We'll 2-stop. It's apparently faster.
Brace yourselves for the Australian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
So the preview focusing on Daniel Ricciardo there. In his home race, of course, Oscar Piastri faring slightly better, starting 10th. But initial places gained for Zane Maloney off the line, already up to 10th. Although Piastri fighting hard. Sainz seemingly losing out early on here. Zane Maloney gets his first ever replay. Round the outside of the turn. Makes it stick by the time we go into the corners where Albon went off in real life last year. Albon not on the grid, worth noting, actually. I did kind of overlook that when we did the whole transfer thing. Albon not on the grid at all. Nobody picked him up, surprisingly. Not even Williams didn't take him back, which I feel a little bit sorry for. Sainz steams up the inside of Piastri behind. So bear in mind these early runs are kind of designed to be a little bit pace up. But the first 2 laps you have to do on full power anyway, because the AI does. Is that green patch a glitch, or is that part of the actual design? Oh, of course, yeah, it's the Cash App sign, isn't it? We've kind of ignored Yuki, but he is on the tail of Stroll, who remains on the grid, despite not being in an Aston Martin anymore. There is a yellow flag. Who has buckled it? It is an Audi. No, Haas. I have to remember the Audi, obviously, not the grey ones. The Alfa Romeo Haas of Hadjar, I think that was. Oh, he does the Albon, although doesn't smash the wall, just kind of caresses it, entices it into a cuddle. Well, with 2 laps complete, we will have to come off both deployment and tyre push. Similarly, we'll have to do the same for Zane Maloney, whose temperatures are very high. I'm not quite sure how far I can push the fuel here in Australia, but we'll stay on it for the time being. But with DRS enabled, that should help us. Arguably, you should probably push for 2.5 laps here, just because the first actual DRS activation point isn't till the back. But as long as Yuki stays in the train here, which starts with Russell in second, and similarly Zane stays in the train that starts with Ocon behind Yuki, who's just on the fringes of being outside DRS, although Zhou Guanyu's also done the same favour, which I appreciate. But yeah, avoiding curbs is no longer the powerhouse that it used to be. You can tell that everyone else has gone off the pace as well. But realistically, with Zane, we can bring up the pace again later on in this stint. It's all about getting those tyre temperatures down at first and then pushing them. Although I say getting them down, they're remaining high. But hunting the McLaren and Zhou Guanyu, he does have DRS, and we do have one of the better DRSs on the grid. Even if our top speed is middling, we have strong brake cooling, we have strong dirty air tolerance, I think now, or is it engine cooling as well? That's another crucial thing. We actually have very top-end cooling for the grid. Obviously, no one's is amazing yet because of the overall nerf to everyone's car, but we do have one of the better coolings. I think we actually have the best of brake cooling and then like third in engine. So we should be able to follow cars, brake better, keep those temperatures down better than most. But Zane Maloney is all over the back of Zhou Guanyu here. Could not be bigger in the visors of Zane. Could not be bigger in the visors of Zane's helmet if it tried, frankly. Here in helmet cam, we're having a look at the back of that McLaren. Zane pulls out wide. Overtaking and defending is not his strong suit. He has very good control and smoothness already, those kind of key attributes. He has very strong attributes in those areas, and that is the overtake done, it seems. All of our highlights have been with Zane so far. Looks like Stroll ahead, actually. Actually, that's not Stroll, is it? Gasly, I think, maybe ahead, that is then. But Zane up to 9th. It's Magnussen, in fact, in 7th. Yuki very much in a train that starts with Stroll now, with Perez in between. I'll take this opportunity to push Zane's tyres up a little bit just to make sure he ditches Zhou Guanyu ultimately. I think maybe minus 2.5. It doesn't seem to be going down that quickly. In terms of fuel, I say that's it for fuel on lap 8. Won't push that anymore for the rest of this race. Of course, there's an instant and we get a surplus. But so pit lap's close to being open. Yuki has fallen off the back of that train, unfortunately. Ocon is closing in on him now as Yuki's tyres go off. But next lap is the lap that he pits on anyway. So we might as well push those tyres and keep him ahead of Ocon as best we can. He says, immediately being overtaken by a car that's on medium tyres, actually. I never actually checked the original tyre situation. We were one of 3 cars on softs. Everyone else going medium hard, I think, then. Or medium soft. Good stuff for Yuki Tsunoda, though. Yuki will come down well down the order. Just behind the Audis. Hadjar adrift at the back after his incident. So we'll get those tyres up to temperature. In fact, we might just stick it on aggressive. They'll get up to temperature on that, regardless. He needs to be able to clear those Audis quickly, though, because this is going to be a problem otherwise. I've been saying Leclerc on a medium has just come into the pits now. Leclerc on a medium's come into the pits here at the same time as Maloney behind him. An even faster pit stop for Maloney, sub 2 seconds. You love to see that on race week 1. He should have come out behind Yuki Tsunoda, but again, in relatively clear air though. We'll just give Yuki the space. Yuki Tsunoda around the outside of Valtteri Bottas. Former race winner here. And then homeboy Daniel Ricciardo, maybe on the next straight actually. Although he's going to wait till the next one. Of course, teammates in real life. We'll watch that one again, just because we get to see both of the liveries in their full glory in this highlight, with all 4 cars being in the same visual there. Right, so that's crucial. He needed that. He needed to deal with them quickly. Now he needs to pump in the laps. Has Hadjar broken his car and they just not pitted him? Because he's well off. Maybe just because he lost DRS straight away is the situation. So this is where Zane's lower overtaking skill holds him back. Yuki's is in the 90s, of course. Zane's is in the 70s. But he goes up the inside of Bottas and hopefully makes that stick. He does. So he'll be behind Ricciardo in the same way Yuki was. So we'll watch this overtake again. We'll give the rookie his moments in the spotlight. I don't know if a 2-stop here is even optimal, but he seemed to be quick. And he has got past Ricciardo as well for good measure now. Yuki Tsunoda pumping in fastest laps, or a fastest lap. I think they're 1-stopping, medium to hard, whereas Leclerc's gone medium soft. Wait, no, Perez has gone medium. They're not 1-stopping. Sainz might be because he's gone to hard. Have we actually taken a superior strategy here as Yuki Tsunoda overtakes Pierre Gasly to get back into the top 10? I think some of these lot are actually 1-stopping onto medium hard, but he's back in the points. Yeah, because this lot haven't pitted yet. I might as well give him battle assist then, as he's trying to get past vehicles on much worse tyre situations. He's on the inside of Oscar Piastri. Perez takes Maloney behind, which is a bit unfortunate, actually. He's met another vehicle that's faster than him back there. But Tsunoda's back up to 8th before these guys have even pitted. And they're going on to hards, I assume. Or maybe they're doing one stop medium soft somehow. That's Maloney getting past the Mercedes of Norris, which is not faring well. The Mercedes not faring well in the race. I was confused by the qualifying because they seemed a little all over the place. But in the race, they are currently 13th and 14th, with Sainz having stopped, but Norris not. I actually left battle assist on Maloney by accident, which may have slowed him down when he was in free air, but now he's actually in a fight. It's actually useful. But that's Tsunoda up the inside of De Vries, who hasn't stopped yet either. Unfortunately, there is a roadblock in the form of the Aston Martin, which does pit. And both cars have DRS up the main straight. So the other cars have now pitted. Yuki Tsunoda up to 4th. Russell, having just pit, comes out directly in front of Yuki and won't have DRS when Yuki does. So they are one-stopping medium soft. Their soft tyres will be dead at the end of this race, I would have thought. But Yuki takes Russell while he's getting those soft tyres up to temperature, which is terrible news for Russell and his race, because he will be faster than Yuki like next lap. But Zane in the background of that shot, he's not far behind. Not a bad race from the rookie. But now some of these guys have pit, of course, and some of these guys haven't. Who are we contending with? Perez, I'm assuming, will go to the end of the race on those mediums. It's whether or not Yuki, who does have 4 or 5 laps, apparently, before he pits, can get to the end of the race. It all depends on whether this final stint actually is faster for Yuki. Which lap is the actual pit lap? Next lap. So, final mediums, attack. Zane's got Zane's actually got like 3 or 4 more laps. So a fast pit stop for Yuki Tsunoda brings him back out again in 13th, ahead of Norris, who has stopped onto fresh softs, which are no longer that fresh, actually. As Leclerc's second pit stop comes through now as well. Intrigued to see where he comes out. I think the only other person to be doing a 2-stop, although the Haas is irrelevant really for the concept of the race that we're paying attention to, but it's crucial that Yuki stays ahead of Norris whilst he's warming up his tyres. Those tyres are now warmed. We'll push him down a notch. It's just so we can get him to the end of the race. We might need to deal with fuel, but it looks okay for the time being. Zane is kind of driving around by himself now. I'm assuming this lap or next lap is the one that we're intending for him. Next lap. So Yuki Tsunoda has dropped Norris on those soft tyres. Zane comes out a little bit low down for my liking. Have we actually got this right? I'm not sure we have. I suppose it all depends on how well those soft tyres hold on. They seem to be doing okay. Although Zane's last stint is designed to be 5 push all the way. Yuki's driver confidence is quite strong. Zane's not massively well. Crucially though, Yuki is going faster than the majority of the vehicles ahead of him. Well, I slide half a second for most, a full second for some. So he is gaining, but he's dragging Norris with him a little bit, although I think Norris is outside the DRS. He is, yes. So he's officially into DRS range with Piastri, although whether he's there by the detection point, I'm not sure. He was. Right. Here come the overtakes. Round the outside of Oscar Piastri goes Yuki Tsunoda up to 11th. We're aiming for points really in this first race. We'll ignore that highlight. Ocon locks up and does enough damage to force him into the pits. Remember, Yuki's having trouble with Giovinazzi. We'll just save his fuel a bit while he's stuck in this situation. And this is a big one. This is a big one. Carlos Sainz behind, I'm not sure whom, but that was Yuki there. Just a small spin. It's cost him a lot. He's behind Maloney, actually. So Yuki Tsunoda up into 9th, and Giovinazzi may not actually have DRS here. And a slight twist of fate, actually. Giovinazzi got past Zhou Guanyu, and now Yuki's got Zhou Guanyu, still not having got Giovinazzi. So Giovinazzi's having a blinder. Whilst maintaining DRS, I suspect, on Giovinazzi through that move, he should be able to pull up closer to the man who doesn't have DRS now. So Yuki's on for a 7th here. Although Magnussen's not far up the road if we've got the pace advantage in these latter stages and the ability to push a smidge of fuel, hopefully unfortunately, Giovinazzi has slowed us right down to like 2 seconds or so. Almost 3 behind Magnussen. As behind, the Mercedes are in a spot of bother. Kind of stalwart 2nd or 3rd in the Constructors' Championships. They are outside the points in this first race of the season. Norris, having moved from McLaren to Mercedes, finds himself behind the McLarens. Bear in mind, Ocon span, so that cost him his race. So the leader just started the penultimate lap. We've still got 2.5 to do, so I'm not going to push the tyres just yet. I might go full 5 push for the last 2 laps. In fact, actually, there's no real reason not to go for it with Zane. He's in a train that starts with Zhou Guanyu, so if we can get drivers there, I might as well attack up to the back of Magnussen, see if we can steal a 6th in the dying seconds. There's a chance of points here for Zane, but it all relies on him getting through this train here. I got one more lap, I think, both drivers here. Zane's taken Piastri at least, but he's coming back again. And that's Yuki past Magnussen, and he'll have the DRS again to pull away. I'll see what the gap is with Magnussen, whether or not I can just go, no, we're all right, actually. But if you can pull out that gap, we can just bring him off attacking, just so he doesn't risk an accident later on here. Oh, no, it's been a relatively tame Australian Grand Prix. They can be a bit wild here, down under. Yeah, he's immediately dropped him. We won't risk that. Meanwhile, it's the usual suspect out front, though. Max Verstappen from Charles Leclerc. Russell third, I suspect, here. Why has Piastri got... Stop attacking, Piastri. Stop attacking. What are you doing? Leave us alone. We need to get Giovinazzi and De Vries. There was a yellow flag before the yellow flag. What happened? The yellow flag came out.
Now there's the car of Piastri.
Oh, it was Zhou Guanyu. Oh, I mean, Zane was outside the points anyway on the final lap, so it didn't really matter too much, but it's caused a right old problem. As I say, it's been relatively tame. So Zhou Guanyu that goes off. I mean, the camera's fantastic here. But yeah, he just drifts back towards the track, exactly where Zane was, actually. So Zhou Guanyu's caused that crash, and it's red flagged at the end, with Maloney 12th, so he remains 12th at the end. And Yuki was 6th. It was a strong performance from both drivers ultimately, because if he could just get through that train, if he had better overtaking, he would have been in that top 10 and probably not been there when that crash happened. But alas, that's his drawback at this point in time. But yeah, the usual suspects up on that podium, unfortunately. I mean, it was a walk in the park. I don't think he was ever not first, because Leclerc always pitted before him. So I think Max led from start to finish. Considering the real life news, it's weird that George went to Ferrari first here. I mean, he started 13th, he technically ended 12th. But a 6th place finish in this first race of the season, and being 4th in the constructors last year, we are arguably looking to try and get 5th and 6th in the races. Yeah, so he technically finishes 12th. Both Williams end up in the points as a result of the crash from Zhou Guanyu there. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing long term for us, but we end up with 8 points with Yuki Tsunoda. I don't know who got fastest lap in the end. Max did. Because no, Yuki held it at one point. And then constructors wise, we are 5th. But yeah, constructors wise, obviously we want to either consolidate 4th or maybe sneak 3rd. But right now it's looking interesting in that respect. We do get the fastest 2 pit stops by a healthy margin. So nice money at the end of the season if we can hold on to that. But yeah, qualifying 13th, race 12th. I'm more concerned by the damage that caused. Potentially. Okay, so just a knock to the engine in the gearbox, but not dramatic. It makes them immediately the practice gearbox and engine. But yeah, chassis, front wing, and suspension all missing. We're getting new suspensions anyway, and we've got front wings to spare. It's the chassis that's the problem. But then again, he had the original chassis, so the new chassis being built will go on there anyway. So it's not actually a big problem. It's only the front wing that he had new to begin with. Chassis and suspension, we've got new ones being manufactured anyway of the new spec, which he didn't have at that point in time. So it's only the front wing that's the problem, because we have only got one spare now. But good, right. Actually, that's not that much of a problem. But we have set up race 13 to be Monza. It's an ATA weekend on here. I'm going to see if I forgot to change the ATA and the sprint weekends. I don't think that will break the game if I try to change them up now. You can change the order before you've done any races, and it becomes problematic once you've done races. I think I can probably change which weekends are which. I forgot to change the sprint weekends and ATAs, so I'll try and make Monza a sprint weekend just so we maximize the 2 weekends. The end of the season we won't do a sprint weekend, but we'll always make sure the pre-break race is a sprint weekend, no matter which track it is, just so we kind of give you the full experience of that. So I'll try and make sure that is a sprint weekend, and I'll see you for Monza, which is the pre-break one. Japan follows Australia. I try to keep it fairly logical in the other races, but it's largely arbitrary because you don't see any of them anymore. But a start of the season that is fairly indicative of where I think we should be. We're in that pack, in that fight for 3rd. With Alpine, Aston Martin, and God knows what's going on with McLaren and Mercedes. I think McLaren are better than obviously they were in that race, because obviously there are 2 incidents there at the end with Ocon and then Zhou Guanyu. They're probably better than that. But it's shaping up to be the usual front 2. But if we can get 3rd this year, that's the progress we're looking for. Season objective is 4th, of course, having finished 4th last year. If we can get 3rd, we're moving. So I'll see you for the race before the summer break, Monza. But until that race, thank you for watching. I appreciate you coming back. If you have indeed come back, or if you're new, welcome. Welcome in. Either way, thank you very much. I'll see you then. Ciao.